All right, that's the course overview. Let's go to the start and get a closer look. They're off, and so will you be. Stay relaxed and confident, but get where you want to be. Don't let the wild race for position leave you a straggler. Stay focused and start implementing your race plan. We can't show you the course exactly as it looks on race morning because then you'll be surrounded by rival harriers. Aside from that though, let's take a look at the course as you'll see it on race morning at Van Cortlandt. Nice wide starting area, no need to go out too fast, just get in position. It's about 600 meters from the start to the first turn, which is way down at the end of this field. As you can see, it's a nice wide field. Right now it's solid dirt. By November, it starts to get a little muddy sometimes, so check it out ahead of time, make sure you've got the spikes that you want. About 400 meters into the race, you'll pass the eventual finish line where those two poles are. And from there, you have about 200 meters to the first turn. After you make that first turn, you're going to go down this way, past the mansion, and off in the distance, 360 meters, is the next turn, the next pole. You're going to make a big sweeping turn around that pole and then head to the left. When you get here, you're going to be not quite at a mile, and you'll see the pole here, and that'll mark the end of the flats and the beginning of the cow path. Up until now, you've had plenty of room. You know, there's lots of space to move around people and to move up, but about here, you're going to find out that things narrow down. So you're going to want to think about getting into position, certainly as you start up the cow path, because you can still pass there, but it gets a little narrow and a little trickier. This is the cow path, about 650 meters long, and as you can see, it's a nice even surface. It wasn't always like this, really. Up until the 80s and 90s, it has become very rutted and very hard to run on, dangerous even. But now the city replaced the surface with this nice crushed, finely crushed rock, and so you won't have any trouble with the footing. Not everyone likes that, by the way. Some people think it sort of ruined the ambiance of Van Cortlandt. But as far as I'm concerned, ambience only gets you so far, and I think this course is a lot safer and a lot faster. The one problem that you're going to notice is you'll see these railroad ties that will come along about every 10-15 meters, and you're going to have to try to keep a nice line of sight so that you can see those things coming and get over them. About 75 meters after you start onto the cow path, you come up here to the 1 mile rock, and that's the first rise on the course. As soon as you pass the rock, you're going to start down a little downhill again, so you get a little bit of a rest after that 1 mile rock. If you look around here, you see it's nice and leafy, and we're overhung with leaves here and branches and all this. It may be that if you run later in the year, it's going to look much more bleak than this. So keep that in mind, and just remember that as you get onto these back trails, keep looking for that person ahead of you and keep trying to stay with them. Just past the mile rock, we come to another little rise here on the course, on the cow path. And you can see to the left there's another trail that goes off, which takes you to Cemetery Hill. Now, you're not going to go that way today, but that's where the Van Cortlandt family is buried. And it's also part of the 5 mile and 10K courses. So it's an historic part of Van Cortlandt lore, but you're not going to go that way today, so we're going to keep going on. At the end of the cow path, you're going to come to this, which is about an 85-meter hill, very sharp rise, and this is the only, on the freshman course, it's the only hill. Anyway, you should be ready for this. It's a good, steep elevation climb, and it'll take you to the end of the cow path. As you get to the top of the hill there at the end of the cow path, you'll have another maybe 50 meters or so, and then you get to this point because you'll start hearing some traffic from the Henry Hudson Parkway, and this bridge will take you over the top of the parkway and into the back hills or backwoods section. From the time that you get here, and when you made the loop in the back hills to here again, you will have gone a little over 2,000 more meters, or maybe a mile and a quarter in the back hills. Well, this is a pretty typical section of the back hills or the backwoods. You can see we have a sharp downhill, another uphill right afterwards, and that's very, very typical. I don't know if it's possible to remember every up and every down the whole way. I think what's important is at every moment to just be thinking, should I be charging this hill? Should I be trying to move up? Keep your focus, keep your concentration. Watch out for those railroad ties. They come very often along the way, so you want to be able to keep your line of sight. And there are some very steep downhills later on that you'll also want to have looked at ahead of time and be ready to manage the best you can. So about a mile and a quarter here in the backwoods, and all of it up and down, twisting, turning, a real roller coaster of a stretch. Lots of fun, and keep your concentration. There are a lot of hills, but no long hills in the backwoods section. You can probably charge each hill aggressively, knowing a downhill will follow immediately on its heels. Well, when you made your loop of the backwoods, you'll get back here to the bridge, and you will have gone over 4,000 meters. And you'll be about ready to start the final half mile. And it's a little bit longer than a half mile, but it does start with a nice downhill. So use gravity to your advantage, relax, and try to recover and get ready for your final sprint. When you reach this green bridge at the bottom of the hill, you'll be almost back to the flats. You got about 700 meters to the finish. Time to really collect your thoughts and get ready for your final dash. Right about here, if you're running the 2.5 mile, you'll go left, but the 5K will head to the right here. From the point where the path divides, it's 525 meters to the 2.5 mile finish line going down this way. If you're running the 5K, it's 625 yards down this way. What sometimes happens when people see this nice big open area, they know they're getting close to home, and they start their sprint a little bit too early. So make sure that you start your sprint when you want to, and don't get fooled by this big open area. Where I'm standing right here, where this path comes in from the right, is 400 meters from the finish. So by about now is when you're going to want to start your sprint. Stay to the right of that pole there and head for home. Here's your finish line, and I hope by the time you get there on race morning that you'll be satisfied with your result. I also hope you enjoyed your virtual tour of Cortlandt Park's 5K cross-country course. Watch it again if you like, visualize it during your training, and recall it on race morning. A well-informed runner can really use this information to advantage. So if you know the hills, if you know the turns, and if you know the changes of surfaces, you can have a good race here. Whether you're a tortoise or a hare.